This is Lesson 5-1, Fraction Decomposition. Today, we will explore decomposing fractions into the sums of fractions with the same denominator. Pay close attention to the vocabulary today. Decompose, sum, denominator, equation, unit fraction. For today's lesson, this pink circle is our one whole. So if the pink circle is my one whole, my yellow pieces show 3/4. Can you write an equation to show 3/4 as the sum of the yellow fraction circle pieces? How many yellows did it take to show 3/4? 3. What fraction of my whole is a yellow piece? It's 1/4. So altogether, how many fourths did I use? I used 3. What equation can I make? I have 1/4 plus another 1/4 plus another 1/4. And those together equal 3/4. Now, any fraction with a numerator of 1 has a special name. It's called a unit fraction. Let's try to understand this a little bit. If I were following a recipe that asked for 3 tablespoons of milk, my tablespoon would be my unit. So if I put in 1, 2, 3 tablespoons of milk, tablespoon is my unit. With fractions, I have 1/5 plus 1/5 plus 1/5 equals 3/5. My unit is 1/5. Can you name some other unit fractions? 1/10, 1/7, 1/9, and so on. Decomposing fractions means to break them apart into smaller pieces. Decomposing fractions into the sum of unit fractions. Sum means I'm adding. Unit fractions means I have 1 as my numerator. So 2/8 is equal to 1/8 plus 1/8. This is the sum of my 2 unit fractions. 2/8 is equal to 1/8 plus 1/8. Decomposing into the sum of unit fractions. Here I have 1/3 plus 1/3 plus 1/3 equals 3/3. So I am showing the fraction 3/3 as the sum of unit fractions. Can you decompose or break down my 2/10 into the sum of unit fractions? 1/10 plus 1/10 equals 2/10. I have decomposed, I have broken down my 2/10 into smaller parts. My smaller parts are unit fractions. I'm showing this equation, 1/10 plus 1/10 equals 2/10. That is showing the sum, because I'm adding, of my unit fractions. Can you decompose these fractions as the sum of unit fractions? For 4/3, 1/3 plus 1/3 plus 1/3 plus 1/3. I have decomposed 4/3 into the sum of unit fractions. Try the others. I can decompose 4/5 as the sum of unit fractions, 1/5 plus 1/5 plus 1/5 plus 1/5. But can you think of another way to decompose 4/5 as the sum of fractions? You don't necessarily have to use unit fractions right now. So how about 1/5 plus 3/5? Now I'm decomposing 4/5 as the sum of fractions. What are some other ways? What about 2/5 plus 2/5? How about 1/5 plus 2/5 plus 1/5? Those were all ways to decompose 4/5 into the sum of fractions. Can you decompose these fractions into the sum of fractions? So for 7/12, I could say 7/12 is equal to 5/12 plus 2/12. Can you do the others? How about a mixed number? 1 2/8 is a mixed number. That means it's made up of a whole number plus a fraction. So if I want to decompose my mixed number into the sum of fractions, first I'm going to think about turning my 1 whole into eighths. So how many eighths would it take to make 1 whole? Oh, well, it would take 8/8. And then 8/8 plus 2 more eighths is going to give me 10/8, which is the same as having 1 whole plus 2/8 more, 1 2/8. I can decompose in many different ways as the sum of fractions. I could do 5/8 plus 5/8, and that also equals 10/8. And as you can see from the picture, if I have 10/8, I have 1 whole plus 2 more eighths. Today we explored decomposing fractions into the sums of fractions with the same denominator. If you are asked to decompose into the sum of unit fractions, then your fractions must have 1 as a numerator. So 1/10 plus 1/10 plus 1/10 plus 1/10 is decomposing 4/10 into the sum of unit fractions. There are other ways to decompose 4/10. I could decompose 4/10 as 2/10 plus 2/10. This example, I am not using unit fractions. Decomposing fractions into the sum of fractions with the same denominator.